Good morning, everyone. गुड मॉर्निंग पीपल ऑनलाइन. अंकिता, कमलेश, तेजस, स्क्रीन दिख रहा है?
यस सर.
अच्छा, कमलेश यहाँ पे है. सर, ये वाला चाहिए या बंद कर दो स्क्रीन? जस्ट कन्वीनियंट. नहीं, ये नहीं, अगर वो भी है ये भी है, देन आई कैन स्विच ऑफ दिस अगर प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है तो.
ऑनलाइन कनेक्ट करते हैं.
अप टू यू. सब ऑनलाइन है तो दिस इज नॉट रियली रिक्वायर्ड. So today's topic is object-oriented programming. OOPS concepts. कितने लोगों ने OOPS किया हुआ है? At least the basics, fundamentals of OOPS, you know. Yash.
Yes.
Kamlesh, Tejas, and Ankita. कोई है ही नहीं क्या ऑनलाइन? ठीक है, we'll just wait for 5 minutes. देखते हैं अगर कोई आ नहीं रहा है, then you can start. ठीक है. So the concept of OOPS, Python is an OOPS language. Okay, it supports object oriented. So अभी तक जो आपने सीखा है, it is all more of functions and executing line by line. Okay, but real life you have to use the concept of objects. Okay, so OOPS के लिए you need to understand some basic concepts क्या क्या है, and then we will do some programming. Now, first of all, what is the meaning of object?
Real world entity.
Real world entity. Okay, so object can be classified or defined as any real world entity. Okay, so real world entity क्या है? What is the meaning of this term called real world entity? Can you give me any example of real world entity?
Anything like car, laptop, money.
Correct. Okay, so anything that you see around, chair, table, fan, okay, all these are real world entities. Okay. So to take this idea forward, and how can we implement this as a programming tool? That is what object-oriented programming is all about. Now there are four main, we can say, pillars of object-oriented programming. Okay, so OOPS has four main parts. We can maybe classify like this. The first one is called abstraction. Okay, so abstraction is, if you look at the name, abstract means something which is not clear. Okay, so it is like a blueprint of something. Okay, so we are defining something without a proper definition of that, but I know that thing exists. So that is called abstraction layer. Abstraction, not layer. The second one is called not polymorphism. We can say it is encapsulation. We'll just write E. So E stands for encapsulation. Encapsulation means it joins or binds the data with functions. Okay, it is joining of the data with functions. Okay, and it is hidden from the outside world. That is encapsulation. Then the next one is inheritance. अभी biology में पढ़ा होगा inheritance. What is the meaning of that? The traits which are shared by the child from its parent. Okay, so flow of information from top to bottom. Now here I can have an object which is called as a parent. Then I can have an object which is a child. And the child can access the parent's data. Okay, that is called inheritance. And the last one is known as the fourth pillar, which is called polymorphism. Poly का मतलब क्या है? Polygon. Poly means many. Okay, so polymorphism means having many shapes or having many forms. Okay, now in object-oriented, in Python, can I have the same function defined more than once? Same name in the same environment, can it be defined more than once?
Same but with different parameters.
definition board. Let's say I have a function called add. Then can I have another function called add? Two functions having the same name. Is it possible in Python? I'm not talking of object-oriented, base Python name. Answer is no. Okay, you cannot have two functions. If I create this function, and if I create this function, this function will overwrite this function. Okay, so I can have only one function. Whereas in a object-oriented environment, I can have two functions having the same name. Okay, but defined in different classes. So this add function can be defined in one object, and this function can be defined in another object, let's say O2. So object 1 will have an add function that does something else. Object 2 has an add function that does something else. So totally different outputs. So this is known as polymorphism. Clear? Now let us see how to implement all these things in Python. So to implement an object, I have to first define something called as class. Okay. So if I have to define an object, suppose I have to define an object, which is this. This object is known as a vehicle object. Okay. Now this definition, how do you define this vehicle object? So that definition portion is this one. This is the definition. And this definition is done by using a keyword, then that is known as class. So we will write class, and then you give the name of the class. For example, I give vehicle. And then what does this class have? So this is where the encapsulation comes into play. So class contains, every class should have or generally has two things. What are they? Class members, or we can say class variables. And then it has class functions, which in object-oriented, it is known as method. Okay, so every class has two components, class variables and class functions, which are known as methods. Is this clear? Definition? What is a class? Now, this class is an abstraction. That is, it does not tell you clearly what this is, but it gives you a prototype that what this can contain. Okay. So the prototype will contain some very basic features. But what are the exact features? That is defined by something known as an instance of the class. Okay. So you have a class, which is a blueprint, which gives you an abstract definition. The exact definition is done used by creating an instance of it. Okay, let me give an example. Abhi vehicle, what do you mean by vehicle? Does it give any concrete shape or is it an abstraction? If I say a vehicle, is vehicle an abstraction?
Yes.
It is an abstract thing, isn't it? Because vehicle can mean a lot of things. Now, suppose I say car. Is that an abstraction? No, car is a specific object. So can I say car is a vehicle? So that means vehicle is a class, whereas car is an instance of the class. So car is an instance of vehicle. Similarly, I can say, let's say bike. So bike is an instance of vehicle. So vehicle is an abstraction which will contain some information. Okay, for example, who is the maker? Okay, so car can be manufactured by the company. Bike can be manufactured by the same company. Okay, so there are certain things which are common between car and bike. So you can define them in the vehicle layer. Whereas when you want specific information, so car will have specific information, bikes will have specific data. Car will have specific functions, bikes will have specific functions. So those are separated from each other. Okay, so car you can define as number of doors, whereas bikes do not have that. Right? Car you can say air conditioners, bikes do not have that. Okay, but what is common? The information regarding vehicle. So vehicle will have, let's say, color, for example, or we can say company name. Okay, all those generic information or general information. Clear? And then another thing to notice is that this instance of car does not share any information with bike. Okay, this data is separate, this data is separate. So there is no transfer of information, so it maintains its own data. So instances cannot share information. Clear? Is this clear to everyone online?
Sir, hello. जो बाइक में इंस्टेंस ले है उसके फंक्शन में जो बाइक रहेगा वही रिपीट करेंगे ना, कार और फंक्शन डिफरेंट रहेगा ना इसमें.
हाँ, कार और फंक्शन, कार का जो अभी फॉर एग्जांपल आई कैन हैव कार पे एक फंक्शन लिख सकता हूं गेट माइलेज. Okay, now bike में I can also write a function called get mileage. Function names दोनों का same है.
Yeah.
But what is different? One is defined in the car instance. One is defined in the bike instance. Both will give different data depending upon the calculations.
Understood.
ठीक है?
Yes sir.
तो माइलेज का बेसिस क्या होगा? डिस्प्लेसमेंट, or it could engine capacity, whatever parameters that is there, which bike may or may not have. Okay, so here I can define the same name which gives different values depending upon the calculation. So this is polymorphism. Okay, so ये polymorphism. This is instance, and this contains the abstraction layer, which is vehicle. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now let us understand one more thing. There is another word called instantiation. Let me write the word as constructor. What is the term constructor? What does it mean in object-oriented? Now I told you that we have a class. Class is the abstraction layer, correct? Then from the class, we define the instance. So instance is the specific form. Now, whenever you are creating an instance from the class, there is something called as a constructor. Now, what this constructor does is, the moment the instance is created, there is a function which is going to initialize certain values. जैसे हम करते हैं ना, we define a variable total. ये क्या हुआ? Where did my screen vanish?
Yes, sir.
एक सेकंड. Okay. Now, whenever we are defining a variable, let's say total. So we say total equals 0. So equal 0 का क्या मतलब है? Initialization. Okay. So instead of having a null value, we are initializing it to some value so that it can be used for calculations. Now, same thing if I have to do on variables which are defined in my class, automatically when an instance is created. That is known as constructor. Okay, so when I define a class called vehicle, and in this vehicle class, I have some variables defined. Let's say color equals blue. Okay, company equals ABC. Okay, location equals Pune. Okay, now this is only the definition. But how does the instance know that the company is ABC, location is Pune? Okay, so that is done by constructor. So when I create the instance, let's say car or bike, when I create these instances, automatically these values are initialized. So car can get access to the color, company name and location name. Bike will get access to the company name, location name. Okay. So that instantiation is known as constructor, and in Python it is done using an inbuilt function called underscore init underscore. Okay. So this function name is called init. So this is the constructor. So every class, whenever it is having an init function, this function gets called first. Automatically, this function gets called, and inside this function, you can do the initialization or whatever thing that you want to do. Okay, so here you can initialize variables. Then you can call other functions, etc. Okay. Now I told you that every instance is a standalone object. That means instance, if I update a value in one instance, the other instance should not get affected. Okay? If I make a change in the car instance, the bike instance should not get affected. So how does object-oriented programming help in achieving this? So that is done by a keyword which in Python is given as self. So whenever you are defining any function within a class, be init hai ya get total, whatever function you call, it always has this keyword called self. So self is actually not a parameter, but it is a self-referencing pointer. So it keeps track of which instance is getting created and which instance's value should be modified. So it maintains that secrecy of data for that given instance. So whenever we are creating any function, we always use this keyword called self. Whenever we are creating any variable, we always use this prefix called self. Okay? Understood? So this is the basic definition of object, instance, class. So let's do the hands-on. We'll do one by one how to create an object and all, and then do some exercises. So let's open Spider. So Spider app खोल लो and avoid Jupyter इसके लिए. Online, any questions? Ankita, Tejas. ठीक है। Okay, so first, let's create a class. So class is the abstract definition of an object. So I'm going to create an object called, let's say, student. Now, generally, the naming convention of a class is you give the prefix C. Okay, just to identify that this is a class. So capital, and then let's give the name as student. This is a typical C++ naming convention. Okay, capital letter. So this is the name of the class called student. Now, what are the two things every class will have? Variable names and methods. Okay, so first we will define the variables. Now, there are two ways in which I can define a variable. One is I can define it inside the class, but outside the init function. Remember, I told you the init function. So I have a class, then I have the init function, underscore, 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 underscore. So I can define the variables inside the init, or I can define it inside the class, but outside the init. Okay, both ways acceptable. So we will define this constructor here and then define everything in this init function. So we'll write def, which is the function. So underscore, underscore, init, underscore, underscore, and self. इसका नाम क्या है इस फंक्शन का? कंस्ट्रक्टर. So whenever I am defining or creating an instance, this init function will get called first. And whatever I have written inside this function will get executed. Now I'm defining my variables. So I can, let's create some variables. Let's say self dot name equals, just put my name. Then I'm going to create 3 more variables. Let's say mark1 equals 78, self dot mark2 equals 57, self dot mark3 equals 90. So what happens when an instance is created? The init function gets called and all these 4 variables will get initialized. That is name with this text, the second variable m1 with this value, m2 with this value, m3 with this value. So if I create 10 different instances, all the 10 instances will have the same values, correct? So let's write one more. Now we will create a method. The method पे क्या करेंगे? We will just print out the total and the average. Okay. So let's create a method called def print result. And then self. So here we can write print name equals. So first let's do this. Total equals. So first let me print the total. So it is m1 plus m2 plus m3, but it is not m1, it is self dot m1 because it is for a particular instance. So it is going to be self dot m1 plus self dot m2 plus self dot m3.
The self keyword is like this keyword in Java.
This. C++ maybe this keyword, hai na? Even in Python, you can use this. So this means a self-referencing pointer. Unsa instance is creating that. This is not a parameter. Even here, I can use this. Okay, so total is self. Abhi dekho yahan pe definition of total. I have not used self. Okay, because it is not belonging to an instance. It is just a placeholder. Whether total changes or not, I don't care. Okay. So your variables can either be instance specific or class specific. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये जो वेरिएबल है टोटल, ये क्या है? It is class specific. Okay, it is not instance specific. And now I can write name equals this. total equals, and then I can write, sorry. Average equals total divided by 3. Clear? Dot. Okay, 1 second, sorry, I made a mistake. Average equals this dot format, self dot name, total by 3. Okay, so now I have a class. Inside the class, I have variables and I have a method. Okay, so now let me compile my class. You can click on this green button. So the class is compiled. Okay. Without any errors or warnings. Okay. Now let us create the instance. So let's create the first instance. So S1 student1 equals so this is how you create the instance. So I told you that when you are defining methods inside a class, the method can be accessed only through an instance. ठीक है, अब डायरेक्टली अभी यहाँ पे देखो प्रिंट रिजल्ट है ना, ये क्या है? This is a function. Now if I use print result, if I use this function, what will happen? It says it is not defined. But I have this function defined called print result. So ये error क्यों आ रहा है?
It is not in the scope of the class.
It is not in the scope of the environment. Okay, it is inside the class. Okay, it is within the scope of the class, but it is not available as a Python function. So that's why you have to first create the instance and then use the instance to access the variables. अभी यहाँ पे मैंने ये student S1 create किया है ना, sorry, instance. So what will happen? It will execute this one. Okay. So now if I do S1.M1, I will get the value 78. So let's try that out. So now here I can write access the class variables. So instance name dot name. अच्छा मैंने create नहीं किया क्या student? So first create the instance and then instance name dot variable name. So now it is going to display the name which I have defaulted to this value. If I do s1 dot m1, so it will print the value 78. Okay. If I print the value m2, it should print 87, correct?
Yes.
If I do m2, it says m2 is not defined because m2 is not a Python variable. It's a class variable. Okay, so it has to be s1 dot m2. Is this clear?
Yes.
So this is how you access the class variables. Now, how to run the class function. So run the class method. That means I have to execute this function called print result. So same thing, instance name, which is s1 dot print result, and then execute. Now it is going to give us this message, name equals total equals average. So now see, name equals Sriram, total equals 259, average equals 86.33. Okay. Run cell. I don't know. F9 to run the cell. F9. See, first, पहले class को define करें. You can run this coding एक साथ कर सकते हैं. Now, if you want to execute this whole thing, okay, just on a click of a button, so you can save your work and click on this. एक सेकेंड मैं सेव कर लेता हूँ फाइल को. And then click on this green button, and now everything will be run. If you want to print all these messages, so use the print, otherwise it won't get printed. So use print S1. Okay, and now if I run this, you will get all these things. Okay, are there results? Okay. Online. Ankita, Tejas. All right. Now I'm creating one more instance called S2. Now, what will be the total of S2? Will it be 259 or will it be 0? I'm creating a new instance. 0. So let's try this out. So S2 dot print result. Both are same. Okay, so this is what I told. Whenever you create an instance, the init function will get called. Okay, and whatever you have defined within init, they will get executed. So even if you create 100 instances, all instances will have the same value for name, M1, M2, and M3. Understood? Yes. So if I do S2 dot M1, that is instance 2, student 2 ka mark 1, I'm changing it to 100. And instance 2 ka mark 2, I'm changing it to 100. And instance 2 ka mark 3, I'm changing it to 100. So all the values I'm making it 100, 100, 100. So you can just write a comment here. Change instance S2 data. ठीक है. अभी second student का all the values have been changed to 100. Now if I do S2 dot print result, what should be the value? The changed value. Now what should be the S1's value? If I run this S1 print result, will it also show 300? Now see the difference. This is the change that I did on instance 2. This is instance 1. So whatever change that you do is only affecting that instance, not all the other instances. So yeah, manually, when you do these kind of changes, you can see that the instance only gets affected. The other values are as it is. Okay. Now, suppose you want to change a little bit of the functionality. That is, I should not initialize the name. I should not initialize the marks. Okay, that should come as an input. Okay, right now, whatever name I give, whatever instance I give, the names will be the same. Okay, all 100 instances will have the same name. Okay, now this is wrong. So I have to supply what is the student name and what is the mark that that student has obtained. So the constructor should be in a position to take parameters. So how to do that? So let's do that part now. So this is number 2. Constructor with parameters. So here you can write constructor without parameters. So I'll take the definition as it is from here and make some small changes. So go to the definition, that is the init function. And here I'm going to give the list of parameters, just like you define a function in Python. Okay. So that is going to be name, M1, M2, M3. Okay. These are the parameter names. You can give any name. Okay. I can give student name, mark 1, mark 2, mark 3. So whatever that you want to give. So let's give mark 1, mark 2, and mark 3. And here I can give student name. Okay. So these are my 4 input variables. Now initialize them. Now change this and then give student name. समझ में आ रहा है? Then for M1 give MK1, MK2 and MK3. Other things are as it is, no change. Now run this function. Sorry, class. Okay. कंपाइल हो गया? ओके. आपने पूरा रन किया. और पूरा रन करना है तो इसको कमेंट करो. Just select this. What is okay? Okay. Now let's create the instance for this class. So S1 equals C student. Okay. Now compile this line and you will get an error. Okay. Now why is this giving an error? Instance will call the init function first. अभी init का definition देखो क्या है. Student name, mark 1, mark 2, mark 3. So there are 4 parameters which are mandatory. So we have to fill them. So now here you give the parameters. And now do S1 dot print the result. And now you will get the correct value, name, total, and average. Now create one more instance, S2 equals. So let's give one more name. And then do S2 dot print result. So now you will see that whenever you are creating an instance, you are in control of the initializing these variables. Clear here?
I'm comparing this name. Is it compared?
We have to compile the whole class. Not just one, because class itself is a complete object. Okay. क्योंकि def print result अगर आप सिर्फ ये करोगे, it will become a Python object. Okay. And it will also give an error because self keyword है. With the root for a class. Okay, so this whole thing is one unit. उसको पूरा select करना. समझ में आ रहा? Okay. So I'll give you one small exercise to do. Write a new method to alter the marks of the student Now, when you are writing this method, the marks can be all the three subjects or any one mark can be altered. It's not that everything has to be given. So any mark can be changed. Okay. So update the mark and display the result. So do this exercise. Then we can take a break. I'll just be back in 10 minutes. कर लो, ठीक है? I'll just go to the office and come.
इंस्टेंसेस बनाते हैं ना बनो स्टूडेंट ये स्टूडेंट काटने देता है वेरिएबल में उन्होंने प्रिंट इधर पढ़ इधर अपन तो तेवढंच करायचं आता संकट झालं
अंकिता एंड तेजस हो गया? हाँ, या इसी में भी कर सकते हो, अब ठीक। इसी पे कर लो, क्योंकि सिर्फ एक नया मेथड लिखना है ना। ठीक है, विल टेक अ ब्रेक, 11:15 विल कंटिन्यू।
Hi, I'm Preeti from Kolkata. I have recently joined Concentrates at Bangalore location, and I have joined the team VAS into it. And today I'm going to
this TensorFlow and Ankita, have you finished the assignment? ये वाला हो गया कमलेश? So the input should be any mark can be updated. तो कैसा किया ये वाला any mark? Any parameter, any mark can be changed.
Like this, right?
No, you have to create a new function. Create a new method. Write a new method to alter the marks. ये एक्चुअली वैलिडेशंस थोड़ा मुश्किल है, बट एटलीस्ट यू गेट द आइडिया कि करना क्या है. ठीक है, सी यहाँ पे यू कैन राइट अ न्यू मेथड टू अपडेट डिटेल्स, लेट्स से. ठीक है, तो डेफ यू कैन कॉल दिस अपडेट रिजल्ट फॉर एग्जांपल, और अपडेट डेटा. ठीक है, now anything can be updated है ना, any of the marks can be updated. So इसको data नहीं कहते, इसको marks कहते हैं. So that means my first parameter can be changed, or second can be changed, or third can be changed. Correct? Yeah. Or everything can be changed, or any two can be changed. So your input has to be, none of those input has to be a mandatory parameter. Correct? Now, you can write before updating what is the total. So you can write self dot print result. Okay. So before updating, what is the value? And then after updating the value, print result. Now here you do the updates. So update क्या करोगे? If M1 is, इसको don't give 0, you can give -1, -1 and -1. So if M1 is greater than 0, then self dot M1 equals 1. -1 क्या है? It's a default parameter. In Python, we define a default parameter like this. अगर कुछ नहीं है, then the mark is M1. Mark is -1. Okay, so you make all the three input parameters as optional parameters. Now, second condition, if M2 is greater than 0, then set M2 to the input parameter M2. And similarly, if M3 is greater than 0, then self dot M3 equals M3. So here you can write print result before update after update. Okay, so now let's run this. समझ में आ रही है? Is this clear? So now if I run this line C1 student 1, ठीक है? अभी this is the total, correct? So now I call this S1 dot update marks. Now I want to update only the second one. तो second का parameter क्या है? अभी -1 है, right? So that means I have not done any updation. So look at the data. पहले क्या था और अब क्या है? Both are same, correct? Now I want to update only the second one. So second one का parameter क्या है? M2. So M2 equals let's give 5. Now see, before update 264, after update 181. Okay, if you want, you can print the value also. Okay, so this is before the update 78, 88, 98. Now I am updating. So पहले 78, 88, 98, after update 78, 5 and 98. Understood? Logic, how to do it? Yes, Kamlesh. Corner, who else is there? Ankita? कैसे नहीं है, ठीक है. Okay. Okay, so the next topic that we'll discuss is the parent-child relation. So that is inheritance. So what is a parent class? What is a child class? How to access the parent information from a child? That is known as inheritance. Now in object-oriented, I can define a parent This is also known as a base class. And from this parent class, I can have as many number of child classes. So this is child class 1. This is child class 2. This is child class 3. This is child class 4, and etc. So every child which is inheriting from the parent will have access to the parent's variables and functions. Every child will have access to its parents, functions, and variables. Okay? And another thing about child is a child can have multiple parents. Okay, let's say that the parent here is mother and here it is father. So this child can inherit from both these classes, mother and father. Okay, so let's see how to create a parent-child relationship and how to write a code for that. So this example that we're going to take, we will create this parent-child like this. We'll create a bank as a parent class. Okay, so this bank will contain information about the bank as the name of the bank, the location of the bank, etc. Okay, general information about the bank. Now from this bank, I'm going to inherit customer. Okay, so banks have customers. So customer will have the information of himself or herself. That is, what is the name of the customer? What is the bank ID? Sorry, what is the customer ID? What is the account type? What is the bank balance? So all these are information relating to a customer, and the customer will also have information about the bank. So here the bank becomes the parent and the customer becomes the child. So we will write multiple methods, one for the parent, one for the child, and how the child can access the parent's methods we will see in this example. This is called inheritance. समझ में आ रहा है? So let's create a parent class. We'll call this as parent class or the base class. So let's call this bank. And let's define def underscore init underscore self. So self dot bank name. So let's give some bank name. Axis Bank. Self dot location. Let's give MG Road. Self dot city. Let's give Pune. Self dot, let's give IFSC. So just give some random number. Okay, so this is the bank information. Very general information about the bank. And here you can write a function def print bank info. You can write print bank equals branch equals location dot format. Okay, so just printing out the name, location, and city, creating a function called print bank info. Okay, so this is my base class or the parent class. Now let me compile my class. Okay. Kamlesh, हो गया? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is the basic definition of the parent. So you can make it as simple or as complex as you want. Now I'm going to create the child class, also known as derived class. Now I'm going to call this as customer. And this is getting derived from the base class. So I'll mention the name of the parent class. This so C bank is the parent class. Customer is derived from the base class. So this is the definition.
Small c here.
Oh, sorry. Ah, that's okay. That is only the name, no? So we can write C and customer. Okay, let's make it consistent. Capital C. So C and customer. Now, what is the information that you want to store? So let's start with the init. So you want to start with the customer name. So I can write C name, that is customer name. C ID for customer ID. Now I can write self dot customer ID equals CID. Self dot customer name equals C name. Self dot account type equals savings. Self dot balance equals 0. So let's start with 1,000 rupees as the balance. यहां तक समझ में आ गया? Okay. Ish? Clear? Okay. Now, this definition here is the child. This definition is parent. This child is inheriting the properties of the parent, correct? This is the rule of inheritance. Child will have access to the parent. Now, directly, it does not have access. Definition wise, it can access. Okay, but how does it access? Now, to get the access of a parent from a child, I have to use a keyword called as super. So super will tell that this child can access from its parent. Okay, now if there is only one parent, it can access all the methods of that one parent. If there are multiple parents, it can access all the methods of all its parents. Okay, so right now there is only one parent. So I'm going to define this super keyword so that the customer can access the bank information. Okay, so let's do that. So I have written this function called print bank info. So I'll be calling this function, that is print bank info, from my child. Okay. So from the child, I'll be calling this function. This function is going to fetch these details. Now, to ensure that I'm getting these details initialized, what should I do? ये कहां पे है? ये definition कहां पे है? Of bank क्या है? Parent. So this information अगर मुझे customer से चाहिए तो क्या करना है? Super.init. Okay, only then it will get initialized. So I'll first initialize. समझ में आ रहा है link? So here I will write super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So what will this do? Call the parent constructor. Okay. So when I'm creating an instance of customer, the first thing it will do is call the parent constructor and then initialize bank name, location, city, and IFSC. Then control will come to this part. So whatever other initialization that you want to do, you can do it here. ये समझ में आ गया? Now I have to call the function called print bank info from the child. ठीक है? So you will define a function, let's say print bank. So from this, I'm going to call super dot print bank info. So we can write here, call the parent function, parents method to display bank details.
Then if we create an instance of a parent class, so can the instance act as a super keyword? Means S1 is equal to bank, and then instead of super S1 dot init.
Yeah, I think that will also work. Okay, so let's sorry, ye ho gaya na? So let's compile this. Now create an instance. So let's call customer1 equals customer. Now here it expects two parameters. What is the customer ID and what is the customer name? So you can give some customer ID like this one. And then cust1 dot print bank. Now it is going to call the parent function, which is print bank info. Yeah, okay. So ये है inheritance. So right, I'll just give you one small exercise. Create 3 methods in the customer class. Number 1 is deposit. To deposit money in the account. Withdraw to take out money from the account. And number 3, last n transactions. To display the last n transactions. Okay, so if we have done 2 deposits, 3 withdrawals, then again 1 deposit. So you have to print the last n transactions. Okay, so try this. So first deposit the money, then withdraw the money, then print the last n transactions that has been carried on this account. Okay, so with this, oops chapter is over. Iske baad last one is the polymorphism. That is a very small thing, we can finish it. Ye karo.
Come here, get the thing in order. बैलेंस अपडेट के लिए दूसरी सेम होता है
हो गया एक हो गया ओके करो करो
सर क्या हो रहा है डिपॉजिट मनी अलग फंक्शन है तो वो अलग वैल्यू प्रिंट करेगा
करेक्ट
if I deposit 100
हाँ.
it will go 1100 but how do I make it when I call withdraw it should show me 1100 minus the amount
how it will show समझा नहीं how it will show माने
here we are calling self dot balance right
हाँ
and after self dot balance where if it is deposit we are adding money in the balance
correct
so it updates only for that method not the entire class right
नहीं पूरे इंस्टेंस के लिए करेगा ना as long as the instance is valid the value is applicable to that instance अगर 100 करे तो 1100 होगा 500 है तो 1500 होगा
I didn't end transaction का नहीं करना
हो जाएगा everything what you have done in the class वही है लॉजिक वही है लास्ट एंड ट्रांजैक्शंस के लिए आप क्या करोगे?
वेरिएबल इनिशियलाइज करेंगे, the time we call the transaction, deposit or withdraw will plus one.
Okay. So how will you store the data? Come on यार, Python किया है ना प्रोग्रामिंग? जब आपको सीक्वेंशियली कुछ स्टोर करना है,
Please.
Okay. And then you want, so sequentially जब आप करते हो, so you know how to add the data to list sequentially, है ना? Append करना है. So once this बन जाएगा, then how do you get the last? अगर मान लो तेरा इंडेक्स में -1 डाल दो, मान लो you have a list of transactions, ठीक है? तो ये deposit, withdrawal, deposit, withdrawal, ठीक है? So this is the first one, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, right? Now what is the last 3? So यहाँ पे n equals 3. So last n क्या है? ये है या ये है?
Last DW.
ये है ना? So हमको यहाँ से यहाँ तक चाहिए. So you know how to get it from here. ये लिस्ट है ये. So how many elements are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 5. So total minus n. Now what? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So 7 minus 3 कितना हुआ? 4 plus 1 कितना हुआ? So fifth position से n तक. इजी है ना, वही मैं बोला ना, सब कुछ किया हुआ है.
Yeah. And because it is a yeah, after when you deposit one, so I call this function for deposit. Then I'm printing the balance. It still shows 1,000 because showing the function. Because when I call cash one balance, it should be 1400. Like it has updated the balance, but it is not showing here.
Hey, this is actually not the right way of calling. See, you don't have access to variables. Initially, they had a value.
Yes, sir. This before adding account balance, before adding, after deposit.
After it is showing now.
Yeah.
See, the reason for that is it will always show you the old value because you're doing instance dot balance. Okay, instance को बाद में update किया ना? See here, what you're doing. Okay, you are changing the value of the variable, but how is it getting called? ये जो customer balance है, what is customer?
Instance of
this, so this is still referring to the old value. No, you will never get to see this.
Sure, but when I call here customer,
for instance, यहाँ पे it is showing the value that was created using this instance. Whereas within this method, you always correct the indicator. So this you will always see the old value. So ये मत करो. Go to this. Okay, because that is a transaction value. So here you write a function def display balance and then call that function account balance. So as a function either. So we don't have to keep repeating this again. Okay, customer balance usually self-balance. What is customer?
in instance of class,
No, it's kind.
but it still shows me 1400.
Same thing. That's more class. Now, understand the okay. What's up? Additional thing. It's fine. Cell dot M1 equals 1, correct. See, in your instance, we will be initializing the variables, correct? For withdrawal. Sorry, not withdrawal, but deposit. We have initialized the single class. 1,500, right? Now the first method that we will write is that it will take one parameter. What is the amount? So let's say money 1. इसके अंदर there is no validation message. Okay, you can maybe validate for negative number. तो क्या होता है self dot balance equals existing balance plus M1. Okay, what we have done is self dot balance equals. So क्या करेंगे? Keep overwriting the previous value. It will not append it. Bad it. So we have to use old balance equals. Sorry, current balance equals old plus current. Okay, अभी M1 है, let's say M1 is 500. So what is the value of self dot balance? Self dot balance equals self dot balance plus 1000 plus 500. Now again you make a deposit of let's say 1,500. ये क्या होगा? 1,500 plus 1,500. This will be. Okay. Now how do you maintain the hierarchy of transactions? That is the order of transactions. After you do this, immediately you append list dot append the amount plus immediately करो। तो यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्टर में you have defined it, तो कंस्ट्रक्टर में क्या होगा, self dot list equals emptiness, ठीक है। So when you call the class, when you call the instance, the constructor will get called. The list will be initialized with a blank. और यहाँ पे you are appending the transaction with the money, it is 1,500. What is the type of transaction? Deposit. Second time when you run this, it will get appended with the new money. The same will be deposited. So if you have how will the list implement? 1500 deposit. Let's say 500. So first transaction, second transaction. Now you do the third transaction. Let's say you withdraw. Let's say 300. ठीक है, तो विड्रॉल वाले मेथड पे आप क्या करोगे? You will do the reverse, isn't it? So self dot balance minus equals so here you will be subtracting the balance with the withdrawal. And here you can put that condition if the withdrawal amount is sufficient. This balance is 8,500 and you are withdrawing. This is not right. So ये valuation करना है and then you have to subtract it. After this is over, then you will and this again. What is the money? And then so you will build this. Then how do you do the last and transactions? These are your three templates. Withdraw. Ankita, finished?
It's 25. So it should print like 2,000. It shows this three line and I can't figure out where it is.
Which function did you run? Withdraw. What is it contain?
And to go to the document, output, not this one. Right, this.
Okay, you are running withdraw. Withdraw कहाँ पे है? If n resistance balance print.
If the withdraw amount is less than balance, then we'll minus the withdraw balance in print. It's not sufficient.
It's equal to this. If n is less than self-dot balance, print after withdrawal. But where are you updating the values?
Self-dot balance minus.
You are only printing it. You are only printing the message. You are not updating the value. Self-dot balance minus equals and give that value.
After that, I can.
Self-dot thank you.
Question.
Right. Full class. Bank to keep the bank. Withdraw. ये ठीक है
Because if you run deposit, it will add 500 for now. And it will be 3500, then you print it.
So initially it is 1001. 1000. This deposit money. Deposit money,
then we add the money, then you
and then after. When I run this again. So before 1500, now it is 3500. Okay. Balance. Okay. Okay. It was referring to the old instance.
that's what I created a new file entirely.
An instance, base class to change here. So that is why it was different to the old class. And pura parent class to compile here, and I compile the child class. Now this should give an error.
No, balance was 2500, so it will error.
तो ठीक है ये करके आओ बस एक there is one last thing which is remaining, that is polymorphism. Quickly we'll finish that off. That's hardly, it will take 5 minutes. So polymorphism means multiple functions can exist using the same name with different functionalities. Okay. So there are different kinds of polymorphism. One we have already seen in the function of update data, update marks. Okay. That is one kind of polymorphism that is called as function parameter overriding. Okay, so where parameters were optional, but if it is given, it will behave in a different way. If it is not given, it will behave in a different way. So that is one kind of overloading. Okay. The other kind is when the same function exists in different classes. Okay, so let's take that example. Same method name can exist in different classes. So let's take two examples. Class, let's take soccer. And here I'm defining a function, def get name self. And here I'm putting print game is soccer. Okay, so very simple class. Then here I'm creating another class called, let's say, cricket. Def. Now I'm using the same function name, get name self. Okay. Now this is not possible in Python. Okay. If you create a function called get name, and if you again create a function, the second one will override the first one. Overwrite. ठीक है, overwrite और override में बहुत difference है. ठीक है, get name here will create two separate functions. One function is in one class, other function is in the other class. Okay. Now here, if I write print, you can say this is game is cricket and played by almost everyone here in India. Okay. Now create the two instances. So I can say soccer equals soccer and cricket equals cricket. Okay. Now create the two instances. That is done. Now soccer dot get name. This will print game is soccer. Whereas if I use cricket dot get name, even though the function is the same, but now it is going to refer to the get name function defined inside the class cricket. So this is called polymorphism. Try to program in this format by creating classes. Ankita, any questions? Is this clear to you? Okay, so that's all we have for today. Try to finish this exercise that I gave you for the three methods. We'll quickly revise that, and from tomorrow we'll start TensorFlow. Okay, TensorFlow installed. Just ask how to get it installed. So tomorrow we can start TensorFlow. Ankita, have you installed TensorFlow? Okay, is it working? Did you try that? Okay, fine. So tomorrow we'll start with TensorFlow, and next week onwards, deep learning, 2 sessions, and we can wrap it up. Okay, so see you tomorrow then. Bye.